Hi everybody, my name is Wendy Lokanc-Diluzio. Welcome to Health Science 1010, Personal Health and Wellness. I'm excited to be teaching this course. This is the second time I've taught it. Traditionally, from my understanding, the course has been taught face-to-face. This is only the second time that it's going to be taught completely online. Now, if you're familiar with online courses, as you probably know, taking courses completely online is great in many ways, and it's challenging in other ways. One of the strengths of taking a course like this online is, of course, you can take the course and address the content or complete the content at your own time and at your own pace. On the other hand, it can be a challenge because you have to be motivated to learn and you need to be organized because you're going on tight timelines as to when your modules need to be completed. Hopefully you'll find this content interesting and useful in your personal lives, and that will then help you to be motivated to complete the weekly modules. This slide contains some general information about the course. We will have a TA for this course. However, at this time, unfortunately, I do not know who that TA or teaching assistant will be. The role of the teaching assistant will be to help me to mark and perhaps some questions that you might have if you send some emails along our way. Once I know who the TA is, I will post that information. Because this course is an online course, there are no class times. It is an asynchronous course, which means that you do not need to log on at a specific time. There are deadlines, but there isn't a synchronous component where everybody needs to be on at a specific day or a specific time. The modules will be completed or implemented from Monday to Sunday. Most of the time I will open the module on Monday mornings, and the expectation is that you complete the weekly module by Sunday prior to midnight. In terms of office hours, I live in Calgary, so I do not actually have an office. But if you do need to chat with me, you can email me for an appointment time. I'll be honest and say that typically students don't want to chat on the phone. Sometimes I offer that if it seems like somebody is struggling with something, but most of the time students just want to email me their questions because questions seem to be pretty basic, and then I will email them back a response as soon as I'm able to. And typically response times are within 72 hours, usually within 24 hours, but sometimes within 72 hours. In this slide, I talk a little bit about myself. I completed my Bachelor's of Nursing degree in 1997 at the University of Calgary. In 2005, I completed my Master's of Nursing degree, and in 2014, I completed my doctoral degree. I have taught various courses within the Faculty of Community Health Sciences. I currently work in my regular job for Alberta Health Services as a sexual and reproductive health specialist in Calgary, but I also teach at the University of Alberta in the Faculty of Rehabilitative Medicine, and I'm actually currently teaching a course right now for U of A as well, and that course is completely taught online as well. And finally, I am a co-investigator with the University of Calgary Faculty of Nursing. Just a little bit about myself. I'm married and have two children, ages 8 and 12, and they're both heavily involved in sports. Some of my research interests include sexual health, health promotion, public health, street-involved youth, youth with disabilities, and adult education and learning. So here are a few more fun facts about myself. I'm fluent in Friends, The Office, and Seinfeld quotes. I sometimes make pop cultural references, and I do actually watch The Bachelor, which is my guilty pleasure. And of course, there's no shame in that, is there? I read pop culture and cooking blogs when I'm not doing all the heavy academic reading that's required for my jobs. And that is a way that I like to de-stress, in addition to going for walks and, of course, watching my kids participate in their sports. I love coffee. I drink lots of coffee. And that is what helps me get through sometimes long nights when I'm doing my marking or creating my presentations, or when I have deadlines. My favorite color is black, even though my children have taught me actually that black is not a color, it's actually a shade, but I do consider it a color and it's my favorite. Something that you might find interesting is that I do not have Facebook and I'm not on social media except for YouTube, which I upload my presentations to. Funnily enough, last semester I did have a student ask me if not having social media has impacted my career in any way, and my response to that person was no. I actually have too many jobs as it is, and it has not impacted my ability to get any other jobs or any other work. In fact, I think for myself, not having personal social media has helped me to stay more focused and get my work done more efficiently without any distractions. Now, I do have work-related social media, but again, it's not personal in nature. And I will say that I do not judge anybody if they do have social media. Most young people, and I'm making an assumption that most of you are younger than me, do have social media. It's just for myself, I find that I don't need it. In these next few slides, I'll be discussing a little bit about the course, as well as the evaluative activities. So in terms of an overview of the course content, focus, and approach, this course, it will expose you to health and wellness concepts, and it facilitates the opportunity for engagement in health and wellness activities. An inquiry-based approach to learning is used. Therefore, learning and teaching are considered to be a shared responsibility between you and me. The role of myself as the instructor is to facilitate, guide, and support learning, whereas your role is to use the resources provided and actively participate in the course activities. Some of the learning in this course is self-directed and will require your engaged commitment to learning and personal growth. And again, as mentioned already, each week starts on a Monday and it ends on a Sunday. In terms of the course learning objectives, by the end of the course, you'll be able to understand what's meant by the concepts of health and wellness, and you'll be familiar with the various dimensions of health. You'll be able to identify factors influencing personal health and wellness, reflect upon personal health and wellness and develop intentions for enhancement, identify health and wellness resources and services available in your community, whatever community that may be, whether it's Lethbridge or Calgary or somewhere in between. Develop personal skills related to the establishment of lifelong health and wellness behaviors. Consider the potential benefits of a variety of activities for health and wellness. And finally, enhance health literacy related to health and wellness through access and appraisal of information and resources. Something that most students are concerned about the most is how they're going to be marked throughout the course of the semester. So that's what I'm going to be discussing over the next few slides here. So class participation is worth 20% of your final grade. There will be 5 graded posts throughout the semester, and each post is worth 4%. And what I'm looking for is high quality posts that follow the guidelines that are provided. So if you look in your course outline, I identify that I'm looking at participation and engagement. For most participation activities, you will need to post a minimum of 2 times per question that's posed during the week, with at least 1 original post on or before Thursday and 1 post in response to another student's discussion post by Sunday. So I'm looking for reflection and accuracy. Are the posts and are the posted comments insightful? Are they thought-provoking? Are they accurate? I'm also looking for contribution. The posted comments should be scholarly and substantiated by referencing course materials or providing original resources as appropriate. And the comments or the responses to your peers' post should contribute to advancing the understanding of the subject. So for example, if you're going to write your original post by Thursday and then you're going to respond to a peer by Sunday, your response to your peer shouldn't just be saying, I liked your post, it was well done, or I agree with you. It would be important that your response to your peer is also insightful, and it includes or is supported by literature as well. And then it's also important that you are able to write in a respectful, clear manner, that what you're writing is relevant or appropriate, and it's free of spelling or grammatical errors. And typically, or what I am asking for throughout the entire semester, is that you reference according to APA style. And so I'm okay if you use the 6th edition or the 7th edition, but you need to be using APA style. And I will tell you, from last semester, people who followed the instructions throughout the semester and followed the instructions of the post, everybody did very well, but the place where most people lost their marks was with APA. Some people did not reference what they had to say, or they did it incorrectly, and therefore they were deducted marks. So I just want you to be aware of that. Something else to be aware of is for the discussion board this week, I've asked you some questions just to get to know you a little bit and for you to get to know one another as well. The posts this week will not be graded, but they will be helpful for us. There are 90 students in this class, and so I've divided you into smaller groups. Most groups have about 10 students, but I'm assuming that some students will drop out as the semester goes on, which typically happens. So in the end, there will probably be around 8 to 10 students in your specific grouping. Something that I will say is a frustration for some students last semester was when students did not participate on the discussion board. And again, if you don't participate, you're going to be getting a 0 for that particular week. But it's very hard for the people in your group to get maximum grades when nobody else is participating. So I would really encourage you, for the sake of yourself, to get as high marks as possible in this course, as well as the sake of the people in your group, that it's really important to participate. It's very important that you are respectful on the discussion board. It's important to respect confidentiality. What's said in the class discussions should stay in the class discussions, and they shouldn't be spread with other people or spoken about to other people that aren't in the class. It's important to be respectful of others' ideas, beliefs, and perspectives. It's important to participate. As I mentioned before, engaging in the discussions is important for everybody, and everybody is responsible for their own learning. Boundaries are also important. Respect the boundaries of other people in your class, and avoid sharing or encouraging the sharing of things that are not applicable to what the assignment is or what the task is at hand. It's important to share the stage and avoid monopolizing the discussions. Everyone has the right to participate, and everyone has the right to be listened to. I'm sure we've all been in classes where, let's say it's a face-to-face class, where there's somebody that always seems to monopolize the discussions, because when an instructor or professor says that you have to participate, some people feel that they need to just talk the whole time. And I've been there where I've been part of the crowd where it's always the same person talking and everybody's rolling their eyes. The same thing can happen on a discussion board. So it's just important to respect others and let other people have the floor as well. It's important to be focused, keep the discussion postings within the scope of the course material, and try to avoid irrelevant tangents. And it's important not to take offense when there's no offense intended. But I think it's also important that if you feel that there's somebody that's consistently disrespectful on the discussion boards, that you bring it to my attention as well as the attention of the TA, because we're not monitoring the board every second of every day. We typically do the monitoring, a little bit throughout the week, but more so when we're marking. So it's important that you let us know if there's any issues coming up. And I have had to, email students or talk to students that have been disrespectful. And so just so you know, if there is any problems that, you will be getting an email from myself or the TA. Another way that you will be evaluated this semester is through online quizzes. Quizzes are worth 40% of your final grade, and they are based on the required textbook, mostly on the required textbook, as well as some of the other required readings. You will be required to write a minimum of 8 quizzes. However, there will be 15 posted throughout the semester, and there are some weeks where there are 2 quizzes posted. I want to stress that you do not have to write 2 quizzes in 1 week. Really, what I'm doing is giving you the opportunity or the choice to choose which content you want to be quizzed on. You can write as many quizzes as you want, but only the top 8 quiz marks will be calculated for your final quiz grade. And if you write less than 8 quizzes, you will be getting zeros on the quizzes you did not write. It was interesting, last semester, there were many students that actually wrote about maybe 13 or 14 quizzes because they just really wanted to maximize their quiz grades. And if they didn't like a mark 1 week, they made sure they wrote another quiz another week so that it took away the bottom quiz grade. Now, that being said, there were also some students that were not keeping track of the number of quizzes that they wrote. And once at the end of the semester, the final quiz grade was calculated, I actually had some emails from people, even though I had reminded people to keep track of their quizzes, that they forgot to write 1 or 2 quizzes, or they didn't keep track properly. And so they had then received zeros on some of those quizzes or the quizzes that they didn't write. So I do want to ask you that if you miss a quiz early in the semester or mid-semester, or even near the end of the semester, please do not ask me to reopen the quiz for you. You will be able to make up for the quiz that you missed later in the semester as more modules open. So it's just really important that you're organized and that you write, that you look at the course outline, you look at the course schedule, and you think ahead as to what quizzes you want to write. There might be a week where you're snowed and you have way too many other assignments. So you may decide that week you're not going to write a quiz, but then you need to make up for it in another week. Your personal wellness activity assignment is an assignment that really you're going to be working on throughout the entire semester. The PWA, or personal wellness activity, is worth 30% of your final grade, and the presentation related to your PWA is worth 10% of your final grade. So this assignment provides an opportunity for you to implement a behavior or activity that will be aimed at improving your personal health and wellness. You will be required to plan, implement, and reflect on your chosen PWA. You will tailor your PWA to meet your personal health and wellness interests, needs, and intentions. It's expected that you will begin the implementation of the PWA at the end of the second week of classes, so by the end of next week. At the end of the semester, upon completion of your PWA, you will submit a paper which offers an overview of the process that you went through. And then for the final week of classes, you will create a short presentation for your peers, which basically summarizes your PWA. So by week 2, you'll choose a behavior activity that's aimed at improving your personal health and wellness. So some of the students last semester chose things like relaxation activities, yoga, hot yoga. Somebody chose rock climbing, volunteer work, running, smoking cessation, a walking program, implementing 10,000 or more steps each week, spinning, weight training, healthy eating, mental health, sleep hygiene or schedule, reducing electronic device or social media, meditation, cooking classes, eating healthy. These were all the sorts of things that students from last semester ended up implementing as their personal wellness activity. So for 10 weeks, you'll implement that activity. You need to keep a weekly log of what you've completed each week. The log will include what you did and how much time you spent on that activity, as well as some reflection on how you felt about it. But I will be providing more information about this next week, for next week. So I will post more information next week. At the end of the semester, you'll submit a paper which offers an overview of the process. I think I mentioned this already. And included in that paper is your weekly log that I mentioned on the last slide. It's paramount that you complete this weekly log starting at the end of week 2. I had students last semester that did not complete a weekly log, and this significantly impacted their assignment grade. So it's really important that you, next week, you're going to be making some quick decisions about what your personal health and wellness goals are and what you want to do and what it is that you want to implement throughout the semester to help improve your own health. And again, I'll give more details about this next week. I'll also post guidelines along with 2 examples of stellar papers submitted last semester, and this will hopefully provide some clarity for you. The presentation is due the last week of class, and this involves presenting for about 5 minutes your PWA to your peers. Now, you may choose to provide a plain old PowerPoint, for lack of better terms, so just a PowerPoint, but you may also choose instead to do a voiceover PowerPoint, so what I'm doing right now. So it's up to you as to how you want to present. Some people as well shot short videos of themselves and uploaded the video to YouTube, and that was the way they chose to present because they just felt that they were better oral speakers than they were written presenters. So again, it's your choice, and more information will be provided as we move through the semester. And I will also be providing examples of a couple of excellent presentations as well, so that you have an idea of what we're looking for when we're marking. These next couple of slides are going to address email writing skills. Proper email skills can make or break a working relationship. Good email means getting what you want. When you send an email, please send it from your ULETH email account. Sometimes some students send it from their Gmail accounts or other accounts, and what ends up happening is it goes into the spam folder. So it's really important that you send it from your ULETH account. It's also important that you indicate a subject. So what is the course that your email pertains to? So in this case, it would be Health Sciences 1010, and you might have a subject that says question about PWA or whatever your subject is. Please, when you send an email, you can say, dear or hello, Wendy, or some people prefer to call me Dr. Lokanc-Diluzio. As well, please copy the TA on it. I don't have a preference as to how you address me in terms of calling me Wendy or Dr. Lokanc-Diluzio, but I will say it's important that you address me by some kind of name. I've had students say, when they're emailing myself and the TA saying, hey guys, it's just not proper email etiquette to do that for many different reasons. So it's also important to use actual words and spell check as well, just to keep the communication professional. Please avoid text abbreviations. I'm not up to date with the abbreviations. Somebody once said something was NP, which I later found out that meant no problem. For me, I don't understand what these things mean. So it's just important that you write your words out so that you're communicating more effectively. The more clear your communication is, the quicker I can respond back to you. And please sign your first and your last name. I appreciate that. Some people don't sign their names, and then they're also sending it from a Gmail where I have no idea who it is that's emailing. So it's just important that you just make your communication as clear as possible. I know I've said this before, but there's around 90 in this class so far. And then with the other class I'm teaching, I'm having about 120 students this semester. So it's just important to sign your name so I know who's emailing me and I know what it's about. I will always get back to you within 72 hours, especially if you're asking a question. I've had people send emails and they're not asking anything. So sometimes I don't actually respond to those because I think people are just giving me information and then I don't need to respond to it, because you wouldn't believe the volume of emails that I actually get. So I will respond to questions definitely within 72 hours. I typically respond within 24 to 48 hours. It just depends on the timing of the week and if it's a weekend or what else is going on and if I have access to email. Sometimes emails will get lost in the stream of messages that are sent. So if I may not answer right away, so it is a good idea to follow up if I haven't gotten back to you after 72 hours. And again, sometimes the emails actually go into the spam folder and I don't always check my spam folder. So again, if you had a question and I haven't gotten back to you within 72 hours, you may want to send a follow-up email. So I would also suggest that you look regularly on Moodle for information. At least once a week, I typically send a general announcement, especially when I'm opening the weekly module. And so from my understanding, depending on your personal Moodle settings, the announcements should be also emailed to you in your University of Lethbridge account. So typically those announcements should be also emailed to you, but it really depends on your settings. In my settings, I have my announcements are always sent to me as well. So look in the announcements for information. That's important. And sometimes when you send an email to me, I might be short or to the point. And that's just to get information back to you as quick as possible. So I apologize if it comes across as quick, but sometimes that is the case, especially if I've got a lot of emails, if I've been inundated, or if I don't have a lot of time to respond. So just please be patient with that if it feels like it's a curt email. The required textbook for this course is called An Invitation to Health. It is a Canadian textbook, and I've provided a picture of what the cover looks like. It's your choice whether you want to use this edition of the textbook or an earlier edition. I did have somebody last semester ask if they could use the 4th edition instead, and I answered honestly to say it was their choice. However, I've not compared the information between the textbooks, and the quizzes are largely based on this edition of the textbook. So I do strongly encourage this edition of the textbook. The textbook is a very good book for the most part. Some of the feedback from the students last semester was that it was actually very helpful for them, and they learned a lot from the textbook. But I do want to make note that the textbook is outdated in certain spots in terms of, it doesn't necessarily use inclusive language, like now how we're moving towards inclusive language, and some of the health promotion messages are outdated. So I've tried to highlight that when I've noted that, to let you know what's a little bit outdated in the textbook assigned readings for each week. But again, overall, it's a fairly good textbook. Or actually, I think it's an excellent textbook. Just a few more things about the readings and activities. There will be required readings or activities which need to be completed. Some of those things will be completed for grades. Some of them are going to be completed just so that it assists you with the rest of the course. And then I've also posted additional readings or activities, and these are optional. So for some people last semester, they actually went through both the required readings as well as the additional readings or activities, especially if the subject matter related to their PWA or something that interested them in their lives in the moment. So it really is up to you. But as long as you're completing the required activities, that is what the minimum expectation is. If you're doing the additional, then that's great as well, but it's not required. So thank you everybody for listening to this presentation. I hope that it's helpful. And, once again, please feel free to email me if you have any questions. Thank you.